to another exciting show. We're all overcome with excitement tonight because we've got Roger, who shares his name with the Prime Minister of Fockham Hall.
He does.
And that's right. And as we all know, that the Prime Minister of Fockham Hall is, let's have a look, see if we got a picture of him. It's, oh dear, should have had
He's
this.
in there somewhere.
Here he is. Here he is. It's
Roger.
Roger, his surname is Ring, and he likes to be known as Roger Ring the Cat, because a lot of world leaders, people like Schwab and that, they like Roger Ring the Cat. So there we are. That's the Prime Minister of Fockham Hall is Roger Ring the Cat. So we got Roger. Good evening, Roger. Yes, it's a nutty show, isn't it? And we got BD Fine of Fockham, which is Dev, and of course myself, Fockham Finance.
Don't ask him for a loan though, because you won't get one.
That's right. It'll be the acronym of the Fockham Universal Currency of Kindness, if I ask me.
Yeah.
Now, last Thursday, it was local election day. And I, of course, went out of my way not to vote. Yeah. And I had a leaflet come through, and I've censored most of it through my door a couple of days earlier, because I think there's only one party putting up. So it's a bit like a communist state, isn't it? And this is the leaflet that came through. Now, if you look around, there's supposed to be 3 people there. Now, those 2 blokes are the 2 councillors, and the pub that they are actually, if you look at, there's like a photograph of 2 blokes, the pub behind them, and the pub is called the Freemasons. You could work out what you want from that one, because they call the local council the lodge, because it's so Masonic there. So isn't that weird from one of the councillors?
Yeah.
You know, so that just about sums it up, doesn't it? But
just slightly.
Back to the coronation. I'm not talking about my coronation of Fockham Hall, but you notice that the royals are really heavily into plumbing, and Queen Victoria was as well, because he beforehand he unscrewed the ball cock from the system, from the lavvy, and there he is walking along with a bloody ball cock in his hand, and I think that's the cistern rod that goes in. So there's water pouring through the system as he's being coronated because he's holding the ball cock. All right, he's got a gold ball cock. So what? I've got a plastic one, doesn't matter. But why was he taking off Michael Jackson with a white glove? Not there, but when he was sitting there, he had a white glove on.
I did see that picture. I wondered what all that was about. Why just the one?
Yeah. Perhaps he was going to sort of do Thriller or something, or something like that.
More symbolism, isn't it? Eh?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yes. Hey, I'm back again. There we are.
There we go. We're only 3 minutes in, Chris.
That's right, only 3 minutes in. But I hasten to add, I also went out my way not to watch the coronation. I just saw 30 seconds, if that, of it on YouTube. That was it. In fact, I needed the sick bag after about 20 seconds. So
Did you go for a lie down?
That's right. Yes.
I did have a brief look at it, and I just noticed how gloomy everyone appeared.
Yeah.
Everyone, with no cheering and smiling. They're just sort of just watching with frowns on their faces. Yeah. Bemused, probably.
Did you get that feeling though that it looks as if he just snorted something before going in there, because he was sort of going.
I never saw that part.
His eyes are a bit rolling around, and perhaps he had a bit of the old, But
he had Charlie before he went in.
That's right. But somebody said when they anointed the Queenie, his mum, with the oils, people saw it, but they put a screen round him when he put the oils on. So perhaps it was hypo oil or something.
No, when the Queen was crowned, the same thing. She was completely covered.
Really?
Yeah. I don't. Some symbol. I don't know what it's all about, but yeah, she was definitely covered. So
perhaps it's gearbox oil, RP oil they put on them. Because if you smell hypo oil, you wouldn't want to go near anybody, because that's the worst smell ever.
Maybe it was Vic.
Yeah.
Right. Well, without further ado, let's press on with the show, because tonight Roger is going to talk about Tams. And no, it's nothing to do with curing confrontation or anything like that. It's hang on, he did tell me what it is. I've got it here. It's the alternative monetary system.
Yes.
Tams. And now, as we know, we are governed that those in control use finance as a weapon to control us. Debt is a marvelous way of controlling us. But loads of people are saying how bad it is and how awful it's going to be and what they're doing and this, that. But nobody's got a solution until Roger came along. So, Roger, what's your solution to the problem?
Well, okay, so it's something I've been working on for a long time, going back in 2007 when we first set up the British Constitution Group, and at that moment I was thinking along the lines of creating an alternative system of governance and looking at the Constitution and how it had been abused and ignored by parliamentarians. And the idea of the British Constitution Group was to teach people, which part of the Constitution were there to protect them, their interests, etc. And I didn't really have my eye focused on the money side of things, but slowly but surely it dawned on me that everything is subject to money. Nothing escapes the control of money. So from there I thought, okay, well, if we need an alternative system, then we need to actually set up an alternative monetary system. And then it was a question of, well, how does the system work? And if we're going to, develop a new system, do we reconfigure the existing system, or do we start looking at a completely new system? And it quickly dawned on me that the present system is so flawed. It's impossible to change it. And I think the analogy I give is that it's a bit like trying to change the tire on a moving vehicle. Driving down the motorway at 80 miles an hour, it's impossible to do so. So you can't change the monetary system. You've got to develop a new one. So how do you do that? And how do you get people to use your system instead of their system? And again, it's impossible. So you have to develop a system that works alongside their system. And effectively, that's what Tams is. So fundamentally, Tams needs a critical mass of users. And the money is issued to those users for them to spend into circulation. So it's what I call a positive liquidity system. You give people the money to spend. And when you give people the money to spend, it's against the obligation that they will accept in payment in the same money, the same value. So what's in fact happening is they're underpinning the value of the money they're spending by being prepared to accept payment in the same money. So it's underpinned by their labor. And the logic is, of course, is that all money should actually be underpinned by the labor of the users. And this idea that you use gold or silver is a flawed idea. The idea that fiat is backed by gold is a nonsense. A lot of people think that gold is true money, but it's not if you fully understand money, because money has two functions. Money has several functions, but two main functions. One of those functions is it's used as a medium of exchange that's used for spending. And the other function is a store of value. Now, you can't save money at the same time as you spend it, or vice versa. So those two functions of money are in contradiction to each other. And therefore, the whole monetary system is flawed because of that reality. So when people say gold is money, that's correct if you're looking at the saving aspect. There is the store of value aspect. But when you come to the most important part of money, the spending function, gold is useless. So when people say money should be backed by gold, my answer is no, it shouldn't. You need to define what money you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking about this whole system whereby if you're saving money, you can't spend it. You think, well, okay, therefore you can't have the two functions attached to the same scenario, the same money system. So I developed the idea that we wouldn't have saving. The system itself would provide you with, say, a pension. So why do we save money? We save money to buy stuff in the future, or for our pensions. In other words, our retirement. So we took the Tams idea and we sort of said, well, let's eliminate the requirement to save for a pension. And let's just assume that we focus on the one major purpose of money, which is to spend it. So what you earn, you spend. And as far as your pension is concerned, the system itself will pay you a pension in the future. So that's the first principle of Tams. The second principle is how to get the money actually into circulation. And as I've just said, you actually give it to people. So you say to people, we're going to start by giving you, say, 100 units. Let's call the Tams unit points for sake of a name. So you give somebody 100 points and you say, if you spend this 100 points, next month we'll give you another 100 points. So the emphasis is on spending the money. So people say, okay, I get that. So I'll go out and I'll try and spend the money. So there's an incentive there for them to spend the money, because if they do, they get another 100 units. And within the context of them spending money, they're going out and finding people that will accept the currency. And this is where you need a critical mass of users. You need people who are going to say, yes, I'm going to accept Tams because there's a benefit for me. What's the benefit? Well, the benefit is if you spend it, you get some more, and that goes on. So that's where the universal income comes in, universal income supplement, as I say. So everybody who is a member of Tams receives an amount of money to spend each month, and everybody who spends the full amount gets replenished by that same amount each month, and so it goes on. So you're actually introducing new money into circulation. Now, if you look at the issue of you went down to your local shoe shop, for example, and you said, right, I've got 100 units to spend. The shoe shop owner is going to turn around and say, well, I don't know anything about Tams. So the idea is you would say, well, would you accept 10% in Tams? And maybe the shoe shop owner would say, well, no, I'm not interested. It's something I don't understand. But if you've got a lot of people trying to spend money, and within a few days, somebody walks back into the shoe shop again, and they say, well, will you accept Tams? Just say 10% Tams, 90% in pounds sterling. The shoe shop owner might turn around and say, well, no, I don't know anything about this Tams. But when the third guy walks in and says, will you accept Tams? He's going to say, wait a minute, that's the third person this week. Hang on, how does it work? And so the customer would say, well, I give you 10% of the value of the shoes, let's say £100 in Tams, and I give you 90% in pounds sterling. And the retailer would say, do you know what? It's a 10% discount. I'll do the deal. So that person has now spent 10 of his Tams points. Yeah. And he might do the same with the guy down the road who repairs his tires, and so on and so forth. The incentive is he's getting 10% off. In his mind, he's getting 10% off everything he buys because of the Tams, this new Tams currency. And the retailer is saying, no skin off my nose, because I'm getting all this business. People keep walking in trying to spend this money, Tams, which I've never heard of before, but I'm certainly hearing of it now locally. So the critical mass of people is the momentum behind the new currency getting a foothold alongside pound sterling. So the logic is that the person who's spending the Tams sees it as a benefit for them, because the way it works is for 12 payments of 100 units. Once you've spent 12 lots of 100 units, in those 1,200 units, it goes to 200. So you get more money to spend. And after the 200, you spent 12 lots of 200, it goes up again to 500, and then again to 1,000. So we are increasing the money supply alongside pound sterling. And as long as people are able to spend that money, they're going to keep using it, because there's no loss to them. There's no loss to anybody. But then you've got the retailer who suddenly realizes he's sitting on what he thought was discounts. He's actually got maybe 10 customers over a month who've all given him 10 points, Tams money. That's £100 or the equivalent £100. So he would phone up the Tams people, the local representative, say, yeah, what can I do with this money? And he would say, well, what you can do is you can ask all your staff members to sign up to Tams, and we will give them a 10% pay rise paid for by Tams. And what you would ask them to do is then to accept a 10% pay rise and pay 15% of their total income in Tams money. 10% being the new pay rise, and 5% is part of their existing income. And because they know the money is being spent in circulation, the staff are going to say, well, I know where I can spend it. I can actually buy shoes with Tams, but I also know that down the road I can get my lawnmower fixed and tires changed, and the carpenter will take a bit of it, the electrician, the lawnmower, and the florist and the hairdresser, and so on and so forth. So there are groups of people out there who are prepared to take part payment of their purchase in Tams. And so the system starts to work a little bit at a time. Slowly but surely, people start to recognize that this alternative monetary system has got legs and has a lot of potential. So you can package the whole thing up behind the idea that it's an alternative system that works initially alongside the money. Now, there's other aspects of it which start to eat at their system. I'll give you an example. If you wanted to buy something like a car, you could possibly sell your car for maybe £5,000, whatever it is. If you want to buy a new car, maybe for £6,000 or £7,000, you can borrow the equivalent of £2,000 in Tams currency to buy a new car. And you've then got to go to the car dealer and say, will you accept this extra money in Tams? And let's assume he says yes. Then that's £2,000 that you do not have to borrow from the banks.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, the banking system is based on debt. So the difference between the TAM system is it's a positive liquidity system, but their system is a debt-based system. It survives on lending money. Now, what happens if people start to decrease the amount of money they're borrowing from their system? The demand starts to have an impact on how their system works. If people stop borrowing money from the banks will fail. And that's ultimately the objective. Yeah. So slowly but surely, we have got a few people in the community using the currency. It starts getting a reputation out there because it's saving people literally 10% of their income. And eventually it would be 15% of their income, and then 20%. So slowly but surely, you would persuade the retailers to accept first 10%, then 50%, and then 20%. The more people that are using it, the more outlets you have to spend it. The more outlets you have to spend it, the more staff members are likely to adopt use of it because they get a pay rise.
Yeah.
The more people got with a pay rise, the more Tams is to spend, and so it goes that circle. So slowly but surely start chipping away at their system, and bit by bit, as they stop borrowing money, their system starts to fail. So what's happening is that you are giving people money, and they are building up a lifestyle based on the ability to spend more. And that's almost a transfer of wealth, because you're now getting your lifestyle through having more revenues, okay? So that's part of the TAM system. And that's part of the TAM system. It's more to say, but I'll give my throat a bit of a break and give myself a glass of water as well. Excuse me.
The question, could I be the devil's advocate at the moment? When you first mentioned about Tams, I think Louise has actually summed this up. What went through my mind was the Chinese social credit system. I went, oh, because who issues now? We say Louise says, just look at the Chinese credit system, and they've got Tams. Universal income is New World Order at its worst. It's worth even less than the printed paper we pretend is useful now. The question I've got is, who issues Tams? And if the government's got anything to do with it,
No,
you've got trouble.
Tams. Okay, so Tams is a private concern. It's owned by all of its members. Tams sits under a constitution. The constitution of Tams is that the system is designed for the people. So it's not a limited company. It's not a corporate entity at all. In more ways than one, it's a name and a system that works because of the people who use it. So Tams is owned by the people who use it by virtue of the benefits of Tams. So the people benefit from Tams. So Tams is a structure in which people are actually given the money, and there's no obligation with the universal income. There's no obligation to follow a spending routine. You can spend your money on whatever you want to spend on. There's no tracking attached to it. So although the terminology is similar, it's not the same. It's a very different concept. In fact, the name I've given it is universal income supplement. A supplement is in addition to your income. So it's only paid out to people who make a contribution to their community. Either they've got a job, or they make a contribution, voluntary work or whatever. If you don't make a contribution to your community, you don't get the universal income supplement. So it's designed to add to. So, with Tams, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you are making a contribution, then you get the universal income supplement. Okay.
What safeguards would there be for, say, a socialist government to come along and think, well, this is a good idea, I think we'll nationalise it?
Well, they can't nationalise it because it doesn't exist on their system. It's invisible to them. We could have 1 million members and they would know. We could be turning over $10 or 10 points an hour. They would know that it's not visible. The information is our system. So it's not on a banking system. You can't exchange Tams for money. We won't handle their money at all. And our essence is that, that our system, our monetary system, is underpinned by the value of people's labor. Now, the government can't claim that they own our labor because that's an assertion of dominant slavery. And we're not slaves, it's not legal. So they can't say to us, you can't use this system because it's our labor and the value of the currency is underpinned by our labor. So it's our money. So the government could not hijack it, steal it, take it, stop it, or anything like that. Because if they did that, they would effectively be admitting that they've got us as slaves, and they have. The money system is a slave system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and with the Tams, would it be actual physical money, i.e., the stuff, the folding stuff you got in your hands?
No. Look, we're in the new age now, so digital money is fine. So we operate with a payment system with our phones. We looked at going down the money route. It's too expensive. Looked at going down the card route. Again, it's also expensive. So we would start off. We actually have a payment platform, a Tams payment platform, which means that I can use my phone. I can open my account. I can go into a retailer, and the retailer can open up his account, and literally unit to unit, phone to phone, money can transfer the Tams account to the retailer's account there and then immediately. It's yeah. So and the technology now is superb, and it's fast, it's effective, and mostly it's safe. Obviously, people are going to say, "Oh, well, they're going to bring you down." Well, that certainly will be their attempt, but we're not idly sitting by waiting for them to do something to us. We are planning for the future. We've developed a system on the back of Tams 1 and the Tams 2. I think what we've got to get right first is the principles. We've written a constitution for Tams. We've got the system up and running. You can sign up to Tams now via tams.money. And we've got the philosophy behind Tams also sorted out. Who gets Tams money? How can we develop it to the first stage and beyond? All of those things we've now sorted out. And Tams is now being launched in New Zealand. So that's happening there. And what I'm doing now over the next couple of months is building up a network of people who want to sign up to Tams and also set up their local branches of Tams. So that's where we're at now, sort of starting to build the numbers and teach people about what it's all about, how it work, and how it can operate alongside their system.
I can see the situation, because it's a bit like eBay now. eBay, whatever people think about it, I think it's a pretty good system. I've never really been done out of it, and people, the retailers on eBay, they're terrified of doing a bad turn to their customers because they get knocked off, and that's one of their big incomes. Now, for example, I've signed up with Nectar Points on eBay, and I bought something the other day, last night, to be honest with you, and I got £2.50 off because I'd earned over 500 points on Nectar Points.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds a little bit like similar, because let's face it, we need currency because it's more efficient than a barter, the old barter system. And it's surprising, for example, in Argentina, when the currency went bust, I think it was in the early 90s, people reverted. And again, in Germany, in the late 1920s, early 30s, they reverted to barter system, where you went along to the theatre and you gave a chicken or something, that type of thing. And I was at school with a teacher that was a student in Germany when they had hyperinflation, and he actually said he saw a woman walking along with a wheelbarrow with a brick on top of a load of money. She'd been to the bank. They hadn't closed the bank.
I thought you were going to say with a load of chickens.
That's right. And he said nobody would rob her because that money was worthless and people were using it as wallpaper.
Yeah.
So like this threat. It was just pointless. Now, I can see it's a really good idea, but again, I'm being the devil's advocate here, so please excuse me, not being really like that. We've got the psychopath bankers. They're thinking, as this is a people's thing, how are we going to keep them out?
Well, they can't get their hands on the system. They can't touch it. They can't disrupt it any more than they can disrupt their own monetary system, because they can't see what we're doing. So for example, if you go into the shoe shop, the example I gave before, and you bought a pair of shoes for £100, and you ended up paying £90 and then 10 points in the Tams currency, the government sees £90. It doesn't. Nobody knows that Tams has been paid as well. It's invisible to them. We know. We know what's happening.
It's a supplement to or private supplement to your actual income.
Yeah.
So we are creating a money supply. We're putting it to use by benefiting people. We're giving people the incentive to spend it, because initially they're saying, well, okay, I'm getting a discount. So the psychology is they think about the discount, and then they move on and think, well, actually, I can spend it as well. And we demonstrate how they can spend it. And now they've got a second currency in circulation that only we can see. So the banks haven't got a clue what's happening. And we could have a turnover of 100 billion. They wouldn't have a clue, because that would be spread across a large membership. And what's happening is that we're also able to say to businesses, look, we can actually provide you with money. We can provide you with 10% of your turnover in Tams currency. And we can demonstrate how you can spend that with some suppliers, because we have got these suppliers on our list. and we know that you're a shoe shop or whatever, and we know that this place down the road it is selling stuff for shoe shops, whatever it is. I don't, some example, but and so we would say, why don't you turn your business to them? Because you're going to be able to spend your town's money, and you benefit, they benefit, everybody benefits, because we've now got this new supply of money. So it's like the drip in the bath, right? It starts very small and it isn't effective, but after a period of time, your bath is full, right? And with Tams, what we're looking at is it's the drip, drip, drip. The 10% for every purchase that a member uses. And slowly but surely, the community is saying, do you know what? This is actually working, because people keep coming into my shop. I've never seen these people before. And they're all coming in because I'm accepting Tams, and they've got Tams to spend.
Yeah.
And, they would even say, well, it doesn't matter that I can't spend the Tams, because I'm getting business because I'm giving a 10% discount. But now I can also spend that 10%. So it's a win-win situation.
Would they need some sort of Tams reader or something, or some technical gizmo? Say I'm a shoe shop and I'm getting these people coming in and buy my shoes, and I say, I accept Tams, or I'll give a 10% discount. How do I physically, or how do I possibly give that discount where they get the Tams? How is that shown? Is there some sort of thing on their smartphone, or how does that part work? I'm not quite sure. How does that
Okay, so let me just see if I can get up on my screen here. So the way Tams works is that is the logo. Where is it now? It's the spinning wheel.
Right, yeah.
So if I just click on that, and I sign into my Tams account on the phone, right?
Yep.
And when I sign in, it invites me to make a payment. So I press make a payment. I put the name of the retailer in and the amount, and it creates a QR code.
Right.
And the retailer just goes beep and scans my QR code, and the money transfers from my Tams account to his account there and then.
Immediately.
So if the retailer said, okay, £90, he puts the £90 through his till, and then between us, we transact using the Tams system, and he takes the other 10%. So it's a two-payment format at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I mean, we are working on the system whereby it will take payment and divide it into 90-10 or 80-20. But that's how it works initially. That's how it's working right now.
Yeah.
So I can when I've spent my units for the month, it will be replenished. So I'm always looking for a place to spend. That's the theory behind it.
Yeah.
And of course, we are adopting a directory. So I will be able to go to the directory. That's being built at the moment. I'll be able to say, all right, shoes. I'll be able to put in shoes, find out shoe shops that accept Tams, and off I go down to that shoe shop to see whether I can find a pair that I like and have the benefit of I've got more money in my pocket now because I'm a member of the Tams system. So we're creating a new money supply,
yeah.
and we are piggyback riding on the existing system.
That's interesting, because the other thing, what about when the thieving bastards, commonly known as the Inland Revenue, because I look on them as like the mafia, thinking, oh, hello, there's this Tams people that are making lots of this money. And
how would they know that? I'm not going to tell them.
So it's like a sort of a secret.
It's none of their business. The Inland Revenue, the job of the Inland Revenue is to collect revenues for the currency pound sterling. It's got nothing to do with that. I mean, it's our own currency. It's our own system. people don't seem to understand it, but the monetary system is based on a franchise. It's copyright. Pound sterling is copyright. If you use their copyright, you pay their fees. It's a franchise.
And also, tax is actually voluntary, and rich
Exactly.
people pay their accountants to tell the government accountants what they already know. That's why they don't pay tax. And you see, Roger, I had to go through that thing about universal finance, universal currency, first of all, because that is the first thing. That's the devil in the people go, oh, it's universal income. Oh, right, switch off. It's not.
It's a supplement. It's a supplement. Yeah,
it's a supplement, and as long as government, and it is for the sovereign people, run by the sovereign people, then it's safe. But the time it becomes unsafe is when governments and big corporations start sniffing around it, or try and start their own Tams or something like that.
Well, they're not going to do that. This whole point is that Tams is issued free of interest. So if you're a business and you want to develop your business and you see the benefit of borrowing some money in Tams, it's interest free, right? So you can borrow and repay it over a period of time, and the amount that you borrow is the amount you pay back. So there is no requirement to take more money out of circulation than was put in. So it's an honest system. The banking system can't replicate that because there's a debt-based system. They need to charge interest. We don't.
That's it. I mean, it was started on corruption anyway, and I mean, one of the bees in my body is usury, because I think usury is the bugbear, because you're actually paying back a debt that doesn't exist. And all this debt-based society is absolutely awful. I can see this working, but I think that as long as you keep, and it remains private and it remains out of the big boys' hands, it's great.
They can't get a hold of it. That's like the way it's designed. They can't see it. They can't touch it. They can't mess with it. It's a private system. It belongs to all of us. So we are all the operators of it. It operates through a network of branches. The branches are controlled by local people. Each branch is autonomous. The overall structure is governed by a constitution. We have elected representatives who go to an assembly, and their job is to maintain the constitution. And assembly members are banned from being a member of a political party. They can't be a member of a political party. So it's beyond the political system as well, and so on. So we thought through the whole thing in terms of how it will work, who controls it, what's the basis on which it will function, and that's the constitution, etc. It's something that, as I say, has taken me well over 10 years to construct, and along the way I thought, well, that's a problem. How do I get around that problem? And I'm there now. We now have a system that functions at every level, and all we're now missing are the members, people to join up. And when we get the critical mass, it will just happen. So it's down to us, really.
Yes, I can see it taking off. And the thing is, by the way, you started in New Zealand. We've actually got Stig and areas as Stig. He's actually in New Zealand, and there we are. And he sets his alarm apparently early in the morning, and so it's good morning, New Zealand, and
good morning, Stig. Yeah,
yeah, and no sheep jokes. No, we won't mention any jokes about sheep. Oh, was it Australia? Okay, sorry about that. Because I know that New Zealanders do not like it's a bit like sort of no, I won't say, but there's a bit of a rivalry between North London and South London. North Londoners never liked South Londoners, and vice versa. My father was from South London, my mother was from North London, so I don't know what makes me. But what I was going to say is that in New Zealand, where can Stig, for example, get some information of this? Is it? I guess it's the same website, and that. But is there a local sort of? Can you possibly give some guidance there, Roger?
Yeah, well, if you go to tams.money, it will give you the opportunity of signing up to New Zealand.
Ah, okay.
And then if you do that, I can see you and we can communicate, with you from one of the New Zealand groups. What's happening in New Zealand at the moment is a whole number of groups being set up across the country, and it's being called putia. Putia is the Maori word for finance. So you can join a putia group. Whereabouts is Steve? Is he Auckland?
I don't know.
South Island. No, sorry, south of the North Island.
Wellington.
Waikato. Waikato.
Waikato. Oh, in the Waikato, Hamilton, Waikato area. Okay, so they're very active there. So there's a group there as well. So he signs up to New Zealand. The Tams New Zealand. We can get in touch with him. But they're very active there. I mean, they're very, very active. And New Zealand is the perfect place for Tams because they've got a lot of community spirit, a lot of small businesses still, the plumbers, the bakers, so on and so forth. So it's going to work very well in New Zealand. And all we need just one region to be successful, and then people will run at it because everybody benefits. The only people that do not benefit from Tams are the bankers.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. And also in New Zealand, they had a horse impersonator as their prime minister, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Female, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say ugly, but I think, well, I know people can't help their looks, but my word. Shall we have a quick whiz through chat? Roger, fancy that?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Because Robert's, by the way, I got an apology to make for Roger. You sent me some stuff through on Telegram, mate. Sorry, I haven't had time to come back. Don't think I'm rude. Well, you might think I'm rude, but yeah, I've been a bit busy. But anyway,
I think Robert might have a point there.
But this is to do with Charles and the coronation. That perhaps the single white glove was homage to Ted Heath's one-handed pursuits.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm picking up on a comment here, Louise Wilcox. Is that the lady that made a comment before?
I've got Louise Wilcox. Do you want me to show it? Is it this comment?
She said, I can see many flaws with this and sounds no different to cryptocurrency backed by Freemasonry, blah, blah, blah. Well, Louise has got the wrong end of the stick here. I mean, I think she jumped the gun and sort of said, oh, it's like this, it's like that, it's like the other. Tams is not like any other system. And, the bottom line is no other system issues money to its users. That's the first point, okay? To compare Tams with a cryptocurrency is to not understand how Tams work. So I think that maybe Louise should look a bit closer at actually how it works and not how she thinks it works.
It's valid questions, I think. I mean, I asked questions like, for example, when you mentioned it, I initially thought social credits, and my heart missed a beat. But then when you look into it a little bit later, you realise it's nothing to do with social credits. I think that is the worrying side, because we hear these things about social credits coming in China and things like that, where people do, they do nice things, they get more social credits, and if they do naughty things like drop litter or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Chinese are using money as a monitoring tool. And that's what the CBDCs are all about. The Western governments are now moving to the central bank digital currencies, and they're designed as a monitoring tool. Eventually, what will happen is that as you spend your CBDCs, your central bank digital currencies, they will instruct that you can't buy more wine or cigarettes or or fatty foods. That's the way it's designed, because it's a programmable system. So when you buy your ham, your wine, they record it, and they will say, well, your carbon footprint for your purchases this month, you've exceeded your allowance, and you can't buy anything else, right? Tams doesn't do anything like that. Tams does not monitor anything. Tams just issue money for you to spend. So there's no monitoring aspect to it. It's just an additional money supply that you can spend where you want to spend it, where they accept it, of course, without restriction, without control, without monitoring. It's a very, very different system. It's the way money should work. It's autonomous and it's private. So, to compare, and as for cryptocurrency, well, tell me a cryptocurrency that you can get for free. You can't. The whole point of a cryptocurrency, it's built on the back of speculation. What people do is say, I'm going to buy this cryptocurrency because I'm hoping it will double in value. Doesn't work with that.
I don't know whether I'm a bit thick on that, but I've actually heard these people talking about cryptocurrencies. And after about 10 minutes, I almost lost the will to live, because I'm sitting there and it just was going in one ear and out the other ear. It's like sort of high-level accountancy. So you have to do mining. I mean, to me, mining is, Davy lamp and digging a hole. But no, this is all. And then you have this and you do that and you make so many dollars here. And even if it's explained slowly to me, I still just can't twig it. Is there anything that can actually twig it? Because I just don't twig it. I don't know if it's some thick block up here or something, but to me, money, hand, dosh, you pass it up to someone else,
Yeah.
The thing about crypto is it's two functions. One is the blockchain, which is the technology which carries the information from the buyer to the seller without having to go through a bank. That's the blockchain. That's very clever, but it can carry any information. It can carry the details of a lease between two companies from one company to other company without going through a solicitor. So blockchain is a secure method of sharing information that can't be changed, because the blockchain carries information from the original seller, and that original information can't be intercepted or interrupted, etc. So cryptocurrency, or the blockchain, is very, very clever. The fact they attach it to money is also clever, but you've got to have the belief in that money itself. And the belief in that money comes from the belief that somebody will accept it from you. And in essence, that's what Tams does. Tams says that we want people to accept receipt of this money because it can be on-spent. So it's all about the, if you like, the mutual acceptance of the value of the currency that gives it its value. And with Tams, the benefit is that everybody benefits because the issuance is free. There's no losers. With a cryptocurrency, the basic principle is that it will increase in value. So it's a speculation. It's not a real money. If you have to buy money, it isn't money.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Also, what's in it for the people operating the Tams system?
Okay. So
people actually,
there is no. Yeah. So every time somebody pays with Tams, they pay a 1% fee, and that 1% fee is used to pay for the operation of the branches and pay for pensions. Okay. So if you spend 100 units, you pay 1 unit in tax or in a fee. That initial unit is paid in pounds sterling, because there's a requirement to pay for things like offices and stationery in the real currency. But eventually it will change to being the Tams currency. So it's a process again. The point is, it's 1%. There is no income tax, there is no business profit tax, and there's no VAT.
Sorry, Roger, but the other thing I was going to say is one of my personal beliefs. that anybody, now I know this is totally different to, shall we say, working councils and things like that. So, well, I'll say public service, I want to say. I believe it should be a rule that anybody working in public service is not allowed to be a member of a private organisation like Masons. I think that should be very strict. That if you want to become a judge or work in the public sector, you are not allowed to be a member of a secret organisation. You can be a member of the Girl Guides or the Boy Scouts or something, but any secret organisation, you're not allowed to be a member of. And if you are, you get thrown out. As simple as that. Because surely, if you're a public servant, you have a service to the public, and if you're a member of a secret organisation, what is that secret organisation doing? So,
well, we all know the answer to that one, don't we?
Well, that's it. But I mean, would it be similar with Tams? I mean, anybody working for it would not be.
I mean, the most important thing is that you cannot operate a branch. You can't actually be a representative of Tams if you belong to another political party. No politics allowed, because that's where the corruption starts.
Yeah,
that's where all the backhanders start and all the rest of it.
That's right. What about secret organisations? I mean, I don't think people should be members of secret organisations. I mean, I believe in freedom, but if you want to be a member of a secret organisation, that's fine, provided you don't work in the public sector, and that's it. And that's the way I look on it.
I mean, it's been the complaints about it for a long time, that the number of judges who are Masons. And unfortunately, they say, well, it doesn't influence their decisions. Well, that's a nonsense. Of course it does. Why they're Masons? Because there are benefits of being a Mason. It's called favours, right? We're not stupid. But
yours.
Well, that's it. It's jobs. I mean, the thing is, I've got nothing against them, full stop, providing they just, whatever they do. I mean, I've worked with them. I worked in an office where there was only 3 of us that weren't Masons. 3. The entire office is about 40 people.
Oh, you worked for the police, did you?
No, it's actually architecture, because they are the second highest.
Oh yeah.
And but I mean, very nice people. Don't get me wrong, but the fact of the matter is, I mean, it's not my scene. It's not anything I'm interested in. I mean, it just bore me shitless. But it's just not me. But the thing is that they say they're not a secret organisation, but they're an organisation of secrets. It's just playing words in many ways. But as I say, I know. I knew people in my work, and that were very nice people, very nice, and they were Masons, and that, But I've got nothing against them. But what I am against is, not to say Masons, but secret organisations that when it runs into, it can, like for instance, in local councils and things like that, because corruption always happens. But,
But there is a time. There is a time when corruption can be dissuaded, when there's no purpose, no benefit for it, and that's when everybody has actually got a decent lifestyle. It diminishes the requirement for corruption. Let me just deal. There's a couple of questions here. So there's one from Robert Dorr. What plans does Roger have for securing the integrity and safety of Tams in terms of servers and storage, etc.?
I'm just looking for it. Where are we?
At 8:31. So,
all right, 31. Well done. Yes, here we are. I got it. Okay, right. Let's show that up on the screen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it's a good question, and of course, we've thought about it in great detail. And we do have a solution to that particular problem, and we're not going to declare it on the internet. So, we would share that information with branch members, etc., and explain exactly how we are going to secure the system. And it's one of the most important parts of what we're trying to do, which is make it secure from the powers that be, as it were. So that's a half answer, but I think Robert will appreciate what I'm saying, is that we can't go public with what we're going to do to secure the system, but it's in hand.
Louise has got an interesting one underneath. It says, so this digital currency is invisible to the governments that spy on everything we do online and in the streets, and they're not going to hear about it.
Well, nobody said they would hear about it. Of course they'll hear about it. It'll be it'll be something that they'll have a great deal of interest in. But the only way they're going to find out the details of what money is moving through the system is if they hack our system. And of course, that's part of the security question that Robert asked. The intention is to make the system secure, so they can't get the information. That's part of the job of running a banking system. But if they were to ask what the information was, how much money are you dealing with, there is no requirement to answer the question, because it's our money, it's not their money. It's none of their business. Governments do not have the right to ask any question they want. They have there are constraints on government. Government are only governed with our consent, and in this particular issue, we are not consenting to their questions. It's quite straightforward.
Louisa says again, what happens to the sick, the disabled, and those that are too old to work? It works for the businesses, but not for members of the community that need help. So that's an interesting question.
Well, okay, so and there is a fairly straightforward answer to that, and Tams initially is not everything to all people, and it has to start off by working where it can work. So it can't help the sick, the poor, and the unemployed at the early stage. It has to work on its strengths, not its weaknesses. But any system that's working effectively will look after its sick and the disabled, etc. So it goes without saying that the system will eventually look after the people who can't look after themselves. But in order for the system to work effectively, we have to work to our strengths, not our weaknesses.
So let's say there's a young schoolboy or schoolgirl that's left school and they're desperate for work and they want to go and work in, let's go back to the shoe shop, right? They always want to work in a shoe shop. They want a career in the shoe shop. So I go along to this shoe shop and the shoe shop says, well, I can't afford to employ you because X, Y, Z. Could Tams help out there where they could get paid?
Most definitely. Yeah. I mean, there is provision to say to a young student, we can help you by giving you employment at this shop, and we would pick up part of the wage for the shop owner. And bear this in mind that the shop owner is a member of the TAM system, so they are getting a lot more customers through. So they're getting higher cash flow. So there will be increase in jobs. There will be increase in demand. And so on a positive front, we are creating employment by putting an additional amount of money in circulation. And that's the intention, is to actually increase the amount of employment that's available. Again, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to bed in.
Well, it's like everything. I've often said, when you start anything, like in the design world, the first Spitfire was a heap of junk, seriously. And in the back of Britain, a lot of the pilots refused to fly them because they're so rubbish. It's not until the Mark V they ironed out the problems, and the Mark V onwards was good. And it's the same First World War tanks. The early ones, the Mark I's, twos, and again, when it got to Mark V, they'd ironed out the problems. Anything that with any system, you've got to iron out problems that you cannot see. And I find this in the design world. People expect it to be a perfect design from the start off. No, it never is. You've always got to tweak and adjust. There's always compromises everywhere. But I think Kath has got a good one. Hello, Kath. She had a bit of trouble with Facebook. I don't know, they're playing games, Facebook. But is this system not just as imaginary as the current monetary system? So
Well, there's an interesting take on what money is, imaginary. In other words, fiat currency. There's actually nothing wrong with the fiat currency. What's wrong with the current fiat currency is who issues the money into circulation. So if I give you a piece of paper, an IOU, say, you give me a bag of oranges, and next month I will pay you, £5 for that bag of oranges. I give you an IOU. That's not imaginary, but that's what fiat money is. It's effectively an IOU. That's why it says on it, I promise to pay the bearer. It's effectively a universal IOU that everybody accepts as value through the principle of mutual acceptance. So there's nothing wrong with a fiat currency. There's only something wrong with who issues that money into circulation. And with the Tams system, Tams is issued by we the people. So it's a system that is underpinned by the mutual acceptance of all users.
But
So that's not imaginary. That's got real value behind it.
when you look these psychos in the banks, I'm sorry to be negative, but I'm just acting as the devil's advocate. These psychos in the banks, they see this TAM system and it's starting to edge away and eat in at their power and the government.
Yeah.
What are the enemies going to do? They're going to trash it. They're going to, because remember, they control the press. They control the media. Have you any contingency terms? I mean, you looked into that. How are they going to? They're up to all the nasty tricks. And remember, they hold the key weapons, which are the main weapon is mainstream media. That's their key weapon.
Well, of course they'll go for it, and the principle is that people on the ground using it will be our greatest advocates, because they'll be saying, well, I'm using it, it works for me, I get money issued into my bank account every month, and I'm able to go out and spend it. What's there not to like, right? So they will go for the various operators. They'll go for the people promoting it, obviously. And that's why, again, that each branch is autonomous. It operates in the local community. It's run by the local community for the local people, and it provides a service for the members. So they've got to attack every single one of those branches and every single operative in those branches. It's an impossible task for them. So they're gonna try and discolor the principles of it all. But if you think about it, how are they going to do that? How is the banking system going to criticize other banking system when the other banking system is issuing money into circulation free of interest, which they can't do? All they'll do is they'll invite questions upon themselves. And let's face it, who actually believes the mainstream media anymore? We will build this on the back of a network of people who already understand the problems with the banking, the problems of the mainstream media, the problems politicians. Who are going to believe them? Are they going to believe that the operators of Tams, a system that's actually doing something for the people, against the banking system that only does something for itself? I think we can have that. I think we can deal with the PR.
Could you see this going, this is looking way ahead, international? So you could go to France and they call it the equivalent in French of the Tams, ooh la la, and you buy Le Tams. You buy your French biget, or your wine, or your crappy soup, or whatever it is they have over there, their fish soup, and you say,
soup.
will you take this terrible? Will you take these Tams? No, I haven't got tablets. Things like that. But I mean, I could see this becoming international, where you wouldn't have to sort of.
Well, we're already setting up in New Zealand and the UK, so we've got both sides of the planet covered already. So
yeah, I suppose you have really, haven't you? It's a bit like Fulham Hall. We've actually got an ambassador in Siam, you see. So the sun never sets on the Fokum Empire. So
No.
there we go. So
Well, we do have built into the system an arrangement where money can change from the UK to New Zealand, so that's already in place. So we are thinking internationally, but the objective is to get one region working in the UK and one region to work in New Zealand. And when we've got just one region that's working, people will be knocking on the door because we give people money to spend. Who does that?
now, the other thing, your symbol is it Masonic? It's a check out symbol. Is it Masonic Freemasonry?
It represents circulation of money. People don't want to let their imaginations run away with them. It simply represents the circulation of money. The key to a money system is circulation.
It's a bit like the swastika.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
The swastika is before Mr. H came along and all that. It was actually a good luck symbol, and the Finnish Air Force used to have the swastika on their aeroplanes.
Yep.
Now, a lot of tank regiments in America had the swastika, and it's very, very ancient. It goes back years, and it's to do with the four seasons.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with Mr. H and his merry band. It's to do with the four seasons. It's a completely different thing, and you know, it's surprising. But
and what's more important, it isn't the swastika.
No, I think it's something else, isn't it?
Is it controversial because it looks like something that it isn't, and is that a bonus, or I don't know? It's and it's not all about the insignia. It's not all about the symbolism. It's about how the system works. So people might see in it something that isn't there. But
sorry, I've just clicked the wrong one.
That's it.
There you go. Mike says symbol of light. The Nazis inverted it.
yeah, so we're claiming it back. Maybe that's the point. It's a symbol of light and light and hope. Yeah.
And if you go to Singapore, there's loads of swastikas all over the place. And, you know, they don't say, how tall was Mr. H and where do you live? He was about that tall and he lived over there, you know. Anyway, but it's a terrible joke, isn't it? Now.
So I think it's an important thing that when you're considering a new monetary system, it's important to focus on how it works, why it works, and who it benefits. It's not important to wonder about whether there's a Freemason symbol in the scheme of things. And I think this is one of the things I'd like to urge people to do, which is to think positive about something that potentially has a great deal to improve our lives, as a method to improve our lives. And we should think positive about what Tams can do for all of us.
And Ancient Ruby thinks that we are related. This man looks related to Chris. No, we're not related. No.
Twinsies.
Yeah, because of the hairstyle. Yeah.
Well, that's right.
This is unashamed.
It takes a long time.
I thought of having a style like Deb's, but the hairdresser wouldn't do it. She said, She said, I can't do anything with you. She said, I can't do anything with your fringe, Roger.
I bet you had your hair down to your shoulders like I did in your younger days.
I did, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I like long hair. Even had a drink moustache, the ball patch.
Porn star.
They kept calling me Charles Bronson. It looks like bleeding Charles Bronson walking in. You know, did you ever see those pictures? There's 20 pictures of Charles Bronson. He's got happy, miserable, slightly exactly the same. You know?
Let me just quickly get a glass of water, guys.
No worries. Right, shall we run an advert while we're waiting?
Why don't we run an advert? And what for the Sunday one, I think, because that's a good one. Shall we?
Oh, we're good. Right, okay. If I can find it, we will.
Yeah, we're tuning in. Unlike I did last night, because I was on the phone. Please tune in live 8 o'clock every Sunday at Deb's show. So,
well, it will be if I can find the advert.
Where is it? Shall I have a quick?
I don't know. Where did I put it?
Well, do you want to do the other one first?
I've got it. I found it.
Righto.
Off we go.
Brilliant. And it's well worth 8 o'clock every Sunday. And also some hotline news from our resident natural medicine person. I had a meeting with Dr. Miles Fleetwood on last Wednesday. And I'm going to have another meeting this Wednesday. We're going to be talking about a possibility of not only having a YouTube channel, but going on to TikTok as well. Little shorts on TikTok. So any of your ailments and that, you know, like nothing rude, you know, like, I don't know, Granny's carbuncle or, you know, runny nose or as I've got,
flatulence.
Flatulence, yes. Or what about Prince Charles? He has irritable bowel syndrome, doesn't he?
That as well, yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, and I've got
I thought it was irritable wife syndrome he had.
Oh, that as well, yeah.
So, you know, it'd be because he's very tied up at the moment and very busy. He's got a 3-month waiting list. That's how good he is.
Very popular.
Very popular.
Right. Can we get to some more comments and questions then?
Wait
a minute. Right, Robert Dawes saying, Neil, I'm so sincere. Oliver mentioned the Constitution and the Declaration of Arbroath. Again, telling us what we want to hear. That man is always a day late and $1 short.
GB News, isn't it? Ofcom.
Yeah.
Anything that goes through Ofcom, forget it. You know.
Robert also asked a question. Oh, that's
Is that?
Well, that's
Robert makes a good point about the depressed atmosphere at the anointing of old brigadiers. We live in a parallel world where the flag wavers see nothing wrong with what we're all being subjected to.
Yeah, it was very true. It's very obvious as well. They're very gloomy faces.
Yeah.
But Robert has asked this question here at 8:25. If Tams is not a physical but digital monetary system, does it not leave it open to abuse by central banks and their henchmen? I want to deal with that one because, as I say, that it's not actually in their system, it's our own system, so that the central banks can't touch it. The banks can't touch it. The government can't touch it. The only thing that can happen is if it's hacked, which is illegal, okay? And there is no provision in any law whatsoever for us to use a currency or a money system that the government tells us to use. We can use our own system. The principle being that we are governed by consent.
Yeah. Yes. Right. This is an interesting one. The only thing that gives me hope is that Nostradamus seemed to predict independence, and he was fed by the aliens. Was he really? I didn't know that.
Okay.
With Nostradamus, is I've actually found it a little bit waffly. You know, there will be pigs over the forest and the rivers will flow with blood. And you think, what the bloody hell is he talking about? You know, I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah, it's all in the interpretation, isn't it? That's the thing about Nostradamus.
Baby, well, I think you've answered this question. It says here, baby with a laser. What about people who don't have a pot to piss in? Well,
Well, I will answer it again. And I think the point is that if you're going to create a new monetary system that benefits all the people, you have to start on your strengths. And the strengths are businesses out there, people with jobs, people who actually circulate money, people who can make Tams work. That's where we focus our energy to start with. Progressively, as Tams works, then we can help the people who can't help themselves. So if we keep directing ourselves at the problems and not the solutions, we won't progress. We have to deal with this issue pragmatically and realistically. We know that if we can get businesses and people who are in employment to get the system working, then we'll be able to help those people who don't have a proverbial pot to piss in.
I think that ways we need to, in some ways, go back to the 18th century before industrialization, because before the Industrial Revolution, people lived in a village, and everybody in that village there's no real unemployment as such, and we hear about severe poverty and things like that. Yes, but generally people were looked after, and in this village, you wanted a pair of shoes, a bloke around the corner that made the shoes, there's a grave digger, someone that made the cakes and the toffees and things like that. It was like a sort of a community, because this is what gets me with communism. They make artificial communities. They're not.
Yeah.
Community builds naturally with people of like minds. It's a natural process. You can't create it. You can't dump a load of people into an area and go, they're going to be a community. It don't work. Because you look at a modern housing estate, it's like World War III. People not getting on with each other, and then eventually it all calms down, But now Louise has said, Louise Wilcox, I'm reading out, he's going through the reference with, I can see many flaws with this, and it sounds no different to cryptocurrencies. Well, it is different to cryptocurrencies, I think. But
I dealt with that point before, that Louise was seeing in Tams something that wasn't there. And there are no similarities with cryptocurrencies. It's chalk and cheese. It's not, Tams is not backed by Freemasons. That's ridiculous, because I'm not a Freemason. And it's not discriminatory to disabled people. It just doesn't operate yet. And it has to operate at a level at which it will work, and then it can deal with the likes of disabled people. So it's not discriminatory. It's just not capable of helping disabled people. It just has to work before it can help anybody.
Well, I've actually found that I'm anti-government. I don't believe in government at all.
No.
And things that are worked out by individuals generally work very, very well. A perfect example is eBay. That works very well. All right, it's become a huge multinational, big organisation. But on both sides of the fence, I could be wrong. Please tell me if you think I'm wrong, because I've been wrong loads of times. In fact, I'm so good at being wrong, I could actually be a consultant at being wrong. So there we go. But I think this is how we learn on things. But when you look at other things, for example, near where Dr. Miles Fleetwood's got his shop, there's a shop there where people give food to the poor.
Yeah.
And it works it's very well organised, very well done. And it's like a soup kitchen. And as I was walking down the high street one day towards his shop, I was thinking, blimey, because it's very oldie-worldy, Waltham Abbey. It's a bit like the Shambles in York. And there's all these old, they got some jetties leaning out. That's the old style of building and things like that. And there's loads and loads of cafes and coffee shops. And there's these coffee shops that are hardly anybody in. And suddenly there's this bloody great queue outside one. I thought, blimey, their coffee must be tasty, And it wasn't. It's where they were dealing with people that are getting free food and that.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
but any community can do that on their own back. The money system is only there to underpin the community. It's not really there to solve the problems. It's the tool that people will use to solve the problems. So what we have to do is we put in place a system that works, and then the community can use it to their best endeavours. There's another question here from Kath Holdsworth. Is Tams part of the lawful bank you started? And of course, the answer to that is that it's
where is it, Robert? Sorry, where is
so
it?
it's at 821. 821. So we started the idea of alternative monetary system, and a colleague of mine actually called it the lawful bank. And certainly the principles of Tams are built on the early principles of lawful bank, but with many, many improvements. Originally, the idea of Tams or of lawful bank was that we would take some pounds sterling in, and then we would replace it with Tams money. And after a great deal of consideration, I thought, we don't have to do that. All we have to do is build into the system mutual acceptance, a common bond with all the users that we would accept the value of 100 units. We would be able to spend 100 units based on the principle that we would accept payment in 100 units. So it's our own acceptance of the money that gives it value. So that's how we changed the lawful bank. We improved the whole concept of the lawful bank, and out of that came TAMS, the alternative monetary system.
The thing is that when you look at paper money, that only has a value because someone tells you. I mean, all right, it's a special paper now. Let's put that aside. All it is a piece of paper, really. And
it's backed by mutual acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the a £10 note is worth a £10 note because everybody accepted worth £10 note.
Because we know what happened.
That's what's happening in Tams. It's exactly the same principle.
And because we know what happened in America in 1933, where people were ordered to give in their gold coinage.
Yeah.
It's replaced with useless paper money, and nobody knows what happened to the gold. Now we've got Dan MC. It said here, it will encourage being fake and not quite sure gay for. I think it's a typo there, for social credits, like Black Mirror TV show. It's that's an interesting.
I don't know what the Black Mirror TV show is. I'm not really sure what the point is there.
No, I've not heard of it, but I've not watched it.
No.
Right. Now,
so I can't answer the question because I don't understand the point.
Baby with a laser. Robert, we're doing that the last 15 years. You wouldn't believe now I've been screwed over, left with what's it all. I'm the poorest person you will ever meet, thanks to NHS and government. Yes.
Yeah, well, the less government, the better. That's the point, isn't it? And that's,
don't start me off with government and NHS and all these sort of things. Anything run by government is great for themselves, but not for you.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the aspects of Tams is that we can release into circulation. Once the system is working, we can create more money and release it into circulation for community projects. And the way that would work is that if you, for example, if you had 1,000 members in a particular town, you could issue £50 or the equivalent of £50 to each of those members. That's £50,000 or the equivalent of, and they would put that money into a project of their individual choice. So if there were a number of projects in the area, whatever it was, painting and decorating a school hall or something, then the school would appeal for the money, and if enough people supported that money would then go to that school. So you can build up a community system of funding through members choosing where they wanted that money to go. But again, it doesn't funnel through councils. It doesn't go through a department. It goes directly to the users of the money. So it goes via the member to the actual project. So again, you can see how each individual could decide that they wanted to fund a alternative local rubbish service, and they would direct new money to that service. And that service could come along and pick up the rubbish the day before the council picks up the rubbish, and offer a new business, a more efficient business, to the point where the council would stop picking up the rubbish bins because they weren't collecting any rubbish. And what would happen there is the council would say, well, this is fantastic. We don't have to pay for rubbish collection anymore. And of course, what you're doing is you're replacing the council service using a new money supply. And you keep chipping away at the council services. You could do the same for the local park and get a new business looking after the park, doing a better job than the council. And by virtue of the fact that the council is no longer spending that money on the services, they would pull out of that service, leaving it to Tams organization to take over. So again, it's a clever way of taking control of certain aspects of council service without actually having a battle with them. You literally give people the choice.
Well, council tax is actually illegal anyway. It's a bit right for charging you as the local supermarket as for something. But it's quite interesting what Robert Dorr says here. It says, interesting factoid: Argentina have a debt museum in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, but it went bankrupt.
Oh, that's a quick one. That's a quick one. I like that one. But this is another one. Mark Wright says, I have a Zimbabwean $50 billion note. Because that was an idea I had once. I was going to get some of these $1 billion notes, which are worth about Tams or whatever, and have a competition on here where someone can become a billionaire overnight. You just send them one of those notes. Worth nothing.
I've actually got one. I think I've got a few of them. I think I've got a one Zimbabwe note all the way up to the 50 billion or something.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Can you get them in the post office? I think it'd be good for a laugh.
Well, I gave a $1 billion note to my son for his 30th birthday, and I said, "Don't say I never gave you any." But the irony of it, I had about 10 of them and eventually sold them for about £7 each. I bought them for pennies in the pound, and eventually sold them for. There was a demand. I think you can go online now and you can actually see they're worth about £15. It's a novelty thing.
Yeah, was it my mistake? It's a 50 trillion.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But,
right, we've still got some more comments. So Louise is saying the current system was built on a fraudulent footing, so therefore will remain fraudulent. Banks are no more than a Ponzi scheme, and money is just debt. Gold only uses glittering OM.
Well, okay, so the bank system is a Ponzi scheme because of the interest, but when you create money and if you issue it into circulation without interest, backed by people's mutual acceptance, then it's a legitimate monetary system because it's backed by the value of everyone's labor. If you come to me and you do a job for me and you allow me to pay you with a piece of paper, then your labor underpins the value of the money I've just paid you. And as long as you can unspend it, it's legitimate. It's perfectly legitimate. And so the more people that actually are prepared to use a Tams currency, a people's currency, the more legitimacy it has, because the legitimacy comes from mutual acceptance of value. It's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty logical. And I think we got to veer away from all of this. Money is a scam. Money that, yeah, the system we use is a scam. The system we use is a Ponzi scheme. But a similar fiat system based on the people issuing the money is quite legitimate. And it's actually enormously useful and valuable system to have.
Do you fancy another advert coming on, Deb?
Yeah.
Why not? The one you was going to put on.
Which one was that?
I'm not sure. I think we was. I can't remember.
Oh, the yeah, royal one.
You could have a royal one. You never know.
Let's have a look. There we go. Right.
The following is a public service announcement.
Hello, minions. Here's your king speaking, the King fuck 'em all. I'd just like to remind one to bob along to the website at www.fuck'emallradio.com. Mummy was always assured of a super spiffing time when she visited, and I'm sure you will be too. So, don't forget to go check it out. I have to go now. I have innocent things to shoot. Take care, minions.
We put adverts like that.
That was done on my old video format. I don't use that one anymore. So the next one that I do will fill the screen.
Yeah, we fill the screen. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Lighten it up a little bit. Right. We got any more, Deb? I think we've got quite a few because we've got quite an active chat room tonight.
We have. Louise again, we need to trade our labour for what both parties agree on. No finances, good finance for man only for corporations.
Well,
We need to trade our labour for what both parties agree on. Yeah, well, that's what happens now, isn't it? So I suppose you're not talking about the value of labour. We're talking about a medium of exchange, what people would use in the future. And we've got to get away from the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. And if people don't yet understand what they're about, then they need to do some research.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there, but also what we've done away with this financial system is, shall we say, skills and talents that have just died a death. For example, one of my personal things that gets up my nose is with architecture. From 1914 onwards, architecture has completely lost its way, and we've got this thing called brutal architecture. No, it's crap. And when you go back again in time, people, especially Victorian builders, they were very proud of what they built. All right, they did a lot of crap in Victorian times, but they did a lot of quality buildings, especially public buildings. And when you look at the beautiful stonework and things like that, and the artistic ways, now it's, we can't afford that. We just have basic. We just do it all cheap, quick. Well, that is what is making unemployment. If a person is happy, if a skilled tradesman takes a real pride in what they do, they can walk around the town and say, I built that. Yeah. I did this. And to beautify the place. And it gets on my ute. I mean, a perfect example, I was talking about Waltham Abbey earlier. You walk through Waltham Abbey, parts of it are a bit like the shambles at Yorkshire, where you've got the, for example, Miles's place is actually, it's not listed, but it's got original oak beams inside, and it's
very
really
looking.
Yes, right. Yeah. And you look along the high street, and what you've got the oldie worldy buildings, which are very nice and very interesting to look at, and a 1960s concrete crap house, which was a And,
but I think I think the point you're making is the fact that their claim is there isn't enough money is a lie, and everything suffered because of this tactic they used. Their strategy was to take as much money out of circulation and deprive every aspect of our society of the money, so they couldn't have those features exactly. So with Tams, we could afford all of those benefits eventually because there is no shortage of money. The more people who accept the new system, the more money there is in circulation and the more you can do with it. Yes, so it's a building block, isn't it?
And also, I mean, they're stifling creativity as well. As with regulations.
Yes,
I mean, there's safety regulations and safety regulations. Sometimes it just goes completely and utterly bonkers. But it's nice to see, I mean, yes, safety should be number one priority. But when you look at how much is being stifled with over-regulation and things like that, we've got to hand things back to the people so people can make individual choice and to beautify places. And this is it. I mean, it's horrendous. There's estates going up, housing estates around where I live, and they're just, well, quite honestly, they look like concentration camps. It's true that record, what is it? Little boxes made of ticky tacky. That's all it is. Same rabbit hutch crap, which poor souls have got to pay because a mortgage means death grip. Mortgaged up to their arse for most of their time of their life when they should be enjoying life when they're young. They're not. They're working their guts out to pay off a mortgage, which it shouldn't be. I mean, I've often said houses should be about the price of a car, and they can make them that price. There's no excuse. They can make them that price, you know. That thing. But what you're saying about gold, it's not a currency, it's an investment. That's really what it is, because it's real money. And Rick Allen, he said here, what is it? Money or gold matter. The system collapses. Only if you have real sources, you can't eat money.
Exactly. And good on you, Rick, for identifying that the people who are actually saving gold because they think that's going to be the savior when the system collapses, forget about it. Because they will confiscate the gold, they will make it illegal to hold gold, which means you won't be able to sell it to anybody because nobody will want to buy it. What you need to have is a box full of seeds, because anything to do with food will have value. Anything that you can eat will have value. So my recommendation for everybody is to don't buy gold, buy seeds. That's the reality. But the other reality is that if you actually have an alternative monetary system that's up and running, you've got the medium of exchange that you can use to build enterprise around people's ability to exchange their labor. And ultimately, possibly 60% of the value of everything is labor. Nothing actually has a value. If you think about trees are grown, the only time a tree that's cut down has value is because somebody's put their labor to it. The oil in the ground is free. It's only when human beings handle it and bring it out of the ground does it have value back because of the labor content. So all resources are free. Everything that you care to think about is actually free to mankind. It's only the attachment of our value through our labor that gives it value. So it's all about labor. And the one thing that everybody has is the value of their labor. And that means that, if you can't do a manual job, you can probably do paperwork or answer phones. There's always something that most people can do. But again, the whole point is at the moment in time when Tams is working effectively, we can help those people who presently have nothing. We can actually provide them with a resource. We can provide them with some, form of help that they're not getting at the moment. But you've got to get the system up and running first.
But there's a difference between. Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say there's a difference between a job, which irritates me, because a job is a task, and a profession, a vocation, what you're skilled to do. Yeah. Because that work, that is something that you enjoy doing. Difference. Anyway, sorry, Deb.
No, I was just going to say, Robert says, what plan does Roger have for securing the integrity and safety of Tams in terms of servers and storage, etc.?
Yeah, okay, so I dealt with this before, and I'll just deal with it again, which is that the principle is that obviously we have to have a secure system. We're very, very aware of that, and we are working on that at the moment. It's ongoing work, but we're not going to declare it on a live stream. What we're going to do, really, security is something that we will share with branch owners, etc. But fundamentally, everybody understands if you're operating a monetary system, it has to be secure.
John's just made a comment. Hello, John. If it collapses to where gold is
John from America.
Fungible, having seeds is not going to do you any good if you can't defend your plot of land or property.
Well, that's true. So again, it's hydroponics. You can grow plants indoors, and there's always that thing about protecting your property, protecting your seeds, and growing them somewhere where they can't be attacked. But yeah, I get it. But also, if you have your own monetary system, you are able to create a small police force, some form of system that will protect the community. So the key that that we're creating an alternative monetary system gives us options, community options to employ a police force, to have some form of security, have some form of law and order, etc. And based on that, of course, there's no reason why you can't plant your seeds in your garden, because your neighbours will be watching out for you, and hopefully one would imagine that you might be able to share some aspects of your gardening with your neighbour.
Yeah.
But I take his point that when the system's collapsing, are we all going to stand around and watch it totally collapse, or are we going to get stuck in, use our own monetary system, and start creating new systems, grow local food, etc.
Yeah. And
Oh,
last
actually,
comment.
yeah.
Sorry, let me just do this
That's
one,
right.
and then we've caught up. What is Roger's tipping point for Tams? Will 30% of the nation be sufficient?
Good question. Very good question. So we work on the critical mass thing in a local community. So to give you an example, the critical mass is not a number. The critical mass is a format of a group of people who could provide services to other groups of people. I'll give you an example. Is that you can have 10 people who are plumbers, electricians, hairdressers, bakers, lawnmower repairers, gardener, an accountant. And those 10 people can effectively exchange their services using a new monetary system. Now, that would work on a very low scale because there's only 10 people. But if you were able to get, excuse me, if you were able to get, say, 5,000 people in a wide community, you would have a very effective system, a monetary system working, because that would incorporate, several plumbers, electricians, and gardeners, etc., all of whom could accept 10% of their income in the Tams currency and know that they could spend it with other community members buying cakes or bread or hairdressing, whatever. They know at that level of 5,000 people, including retailers, etc., they would have an effective currency. So if one community can operate a currency with 5,000 people, that would encourage other communities. And those communities could trade with each other. And probably by the time you had 5% of the nation using your currency, that would be a tipping point. It's as low as that.
Well, when you think that the Bolsheviks got in former Soviet Union, or Russia as it was, with less than 7% support from the population.
Yeah. And that was using violence in the presses. Yeah.
And Chairman Mao got in with less than 5% in China. It's a very low percentage. It's quite surprising. But in the 1980s and 90s, they had a thing called the Let system. Now that was based on a sort of bartering. And I did hear jokingly people went in for it, and they was doing like repairing washers for taps in old ladies' houses, and they was actually getting overweight with the amount of cream cakes they were getting, homemade cakes.
Yeah, that's where
ground to a halt. That's the problem.
I mean, it was obviously ground to halt because it didn't have a critical mass. That's why the critical mass is important. You need to be able to spend your money on things that you want to spend it on, not just spend it for the sake of spending it. So Tams is designed only to be active when there's a critical mass in a particular region. So the first port of call is to get enough members signed up and get branches set up, and then on the back of the branches to get a community ticking. ticking over successfully. And as I say, you only need one successful region, a small community, to actually be using Tams successfully, and people will be knocking at the door. So that's the objective. I mean, we got to think very positively about this, is that so many of us know we need an alternative. So many of us want an alternative. So many of us know what's coming down. So many people know what's wrong with politics. They know what's wrong with the monetary system. Everything that they know, right, they come to the same conclusion. We need a different system. So here's the different system. Let's get on and make it work.
Yeah,
I can see that. What you're saying, and I'm going off at a tangent here. You're talking about seeds and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Two things. One is I'm going to add this into a future program. That is, I actually grow, for example, cabbages from cabbage stumps.
Okay.
I got this. So you buy a cabbage and you can actually grow it. They're really easy to grow, and then you'll be surprised at how the leaves really catch on quick. The other one that easy is celery. They're easy to regrow. Beetroot.
Onions, they are.
Oh, onions.
Spring onions, yeah.
Spring onions. They're super easy. Yeah? You just got to look at them and they start springing up, you know. And the other thing is this Sunday coming, and what date is that? That's hang on, let's have a quick look.
16th, 18th. What are we on today? I don't know. No idea.
It'll be the 14th, I think.
14th.
14th at Standon, which is near Ware. Both Miles Fleetwood, Dr. Miles Fleetwood, and myself will be going there on a foraging trip.
All right. Okay.
A lot of people, wild foraging, and they're going to make tea from the wild plants and that. Very educational, and it's free, and you just pay what you feel it's worth.
Right.
So
well, I'll tell you a story about foraging, and we went to visit a friend up in Scotland, and he took us to a manor house, and the guy there was about 90, and he was an expert on mushrooms. And I was really interested. I asked him if he would take me out one morning and walk me through the local forest and identify mushrooms and pick mushrooms up. And as we were walking, the guy said to me, he said, well, I'm not really the expert. My good friend was the expert, but unfortunately he died of mushroom poisoning. and I thought,
an expert then.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't say a lot, but when I got back, I decided I wasn't going to take the risk, because if the real expert died, what chance did I have of, you know?
Yeah.
I don't touch mushrooms. I really don't touch it. I don't even. They're probably delicious, but no, I don't know. But I do like mushrooms. Not once.
Yeah, be careful what you forage. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing plant you can eat, total safety, is dandelions. You can eat a whole lot, and you're perfectly safe with them. And they're rich in vitamin C. They're rich in iron, and also if you eat them, the leaves this time of the year, and little tender leaves are really tasty.
Yeah.
And if you put a little bit of lemon on them, that'll make them taste even better. So and you feel good afterwards, and you can actually make coffee out of the roots.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Dry the roots out, and you make dandelion coffee, and it's amazing. You're 100% safe with dandelion, as long as it's above dog cooking level and they don't taste a bit salty. Oh, it's a bit tight.
Isn't the burdock? Isn't that the weed? Isn't that where dandelion and burdock comes from?
Yeah, I think. Isn't there a weed that grows near it, like nettles? We've got the yeah.
That was an old. I don't know that happened now. That old drink called dandelion and burdock. And I did hear this recipe, taking weeds from the garden and grinding them, and actually was very good for headaches.
Right.
So
planting,
it's all out there, isn't it?
It is.
That's right. There's one called planting, not to be confused with planting, which is a kind of banana, I think they use in the West Indies. Plantain. It's a very similar word, And that's very good for all kinds of ailments as well. When that you see them growing wild, but so I think that's what was the word? Book food for free is what you need, and very good glasses because it's very good full. Looking through, But
Yeah.
so as I say, wild foraging next Sunday, Standon. And
Brilliant.
it's about, I think it's 10:30 it starts. So it's good. It's only for 2 hours. And it's a very good 2 hours. I've been on the last one. I learned a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
Of what to.
Is that foraging at 10 and pub by 12? Is it?
Yes, pub by 12. Yes, it's a lovely old wealthy village as well. It's a nice part of Hertfordshire. And last time I went, it has been rather wet and had been a field full of cows. And it's a bit whiffy when we got back on our shoes. I'd wear, not to wear well is I actually wear proper boots, because it is a bit damp and I'm not sure it'd be dried out enough by next Sunday. So, that's it. But no, it's something.
Enjoy your foraging, yeah.
I like that what you said about the mushrooms. I shouldn't laugh, but he died from poison mushrooms.
It's a bit worrying, isn't it, when he's the expert?
Yeah. But it's a very good year for mushrooms because of all the wet we've had and all the dampness. And dandelions. I've never seen so many dandelions.
I haven't either. There's loads.
Well, you told me about that yesterday, the day after I mowed my lawn.
Yeah, that's. But you want the yellow flower. That's the one that's got the most vitamins in the yellow part. Yeah, that is. Actually, what I do, I put them in omelets. Cook them in omelets. Lovely.
Oh, okay.
Fungi dies happy. Oh, that's a brilliant one.
Nice one, Dan.
Mind you, in New Zealand, you've got some really funny plants over there. I wouldn't touch up with them because it's sort of like semi-tropical, isn't it? It's weird.
Subtropical.
Well, yeah, friends of ours told us about mushrooms under beech trees, and I said, well, show us, take us there. And he did, sure enough. We walked under these beech trees, and these mushrooms, for some reason, just grow under beech trees. And if you walk around, bingo, they're there, and they're delicious.
Yeah.
But you don't want to tell everyone because everyone's under the beech tree picking your mushrooms.
Yeah, picking the mushrooms.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes. It's surprising what you can forage for. I from around near where I live, there's loads of when the time of the year is right, which is sort of all blackcurrants, blackberry bushes.
Yeah.
And I was the only one picking the blackberries in this field. Nobody else there. And the trouble is, it's not the easiest things to do, but they really are sweet. They were sweet last year, Anyway, is there any more questions in the chat room at all?
No, there's just a comment. Aunt Sally's just put up when I can find it.
Oh, Aunt Sally.
Wait a minute. No, I've done it again. Has anybody done anything with cleavers at goosegrass? It's supposed to taste like coffee.
No. Are you talking about that grass that sticks to you? It's like a sort of a leaf that's
sticky buds.
Yes.
Yeah, Bob comes in them all up his tail in summer.
Yes.
Bobby. I think it's I think goosegrass is quite a coarse. Grass. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Well, so what is growing out there? It is absolutely. It's a medicine chest. That's basically.
We went down to Hereford. We've got a few years ago. We've got friends that own a pub and a hotel, so they put us up. And the day that I was leaving, we'd gone down on the motorbike, so the storage that we got was full of our kit.
Yeah.
And he said, "You should have thought, honest, you could have dug that up, and it was wild horseradish growing across the road on the side of the wall." And I thought, if I'd have known that, I'd have taken a load home because I love horseradish.
I love horseradish.
The fierier, the better.
Horseradish and cheese. It sounds weird.
No, it doesn't.
Cheese sandwich.
Yes.
Yum.
Very nice.
There's something about horseradish. Yes. And also mint sauce. I'm a mint sauce enthusiast. I used to have mint sauce sandwiches, which is a bit of a weird combination.
That is weird. Mint sauce goes nice with roast chicken, actually.
Really?
Yes, it's lovely.
But there used to be an advert for Paxo. It said nothing improves Paxo, the flavour of Paxo like chicken.
Yeah.
Was it? I've got Louise Wilcox. I've got the book Food for Free, Chris. Yes, I've also got it as well. It's well worth getting. I now leave a bit of my garden to the nettles and wild weeds.
Yes.
Yeah, so do I. It's called being a lazy bastard with me. But no. Oh, by the way, I mean, if I was a snail farmer, I would be worth millions now. My garden is a snail's noggin shop.
Oh, right. Yeah. Same here.
I mean, it
I've
must be
seen a snail for ages.
Is it clay soil where you live, Roger?
Hey?
Is it clay soil? Because they love clay soil, the slugs and snails and.
It's sandstone, actually. I mean, there must be clay down there, but we've definitely got sandstone around here. But we've got lots of plants, so that's what snails like. But they feed the French feed the snails special stuff for about 3 months before they eat the snails. So it's a labour of love, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. I mean, have you got leopard slugs where you live? Because we've got leopard slugs down here. I've never. I 3 or 4 years ago, I never saw them. They've just suddenly appeared. Loads of them.
Yeah.
I don't know where they come from. I don't think they're native of this country.
No, I don't even. They're huge as well.
Yeah, they're all over my compost heap. But, anyway, we've up to time.
We have.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Roger.
Is that 2 hours gone already?
Yeah.
It's very fast 2 hours. And also, as I say, those of us that want to meet, as I say, as Dr. Fleetwood and myself going to Standon for a foraging with there's loads of people go there. I'll put the advert on my Telegram channel. Okay, so if anybody's interested in going for this wild foraging thing, it'll be on my closer to the date. I'm not organising it; somebody else is, and so it's not just. It's going to be loads of people there, so it's well worth going if it's a nice sunny day. So look on my Telegraph channel, and details will be on there. So it's Standing in Ware, and as I say, let's hope people go in for the Tams. And
well, if they'd like to sort of sign up to Tams.money, obviously we'll feed them with more information as it develops. But we'd like to encourage people to start thinking about, having their own local Tams branch, talking with the local community, and literally getting the system up and running as quickly as possible, because we're not that far away from the central bank digital currency, are we?
Well, right. And have you had many people going onto your website saying I'm a member of the Tammy Wynette fan club and there's nothing about it on your website, and things like that?
Oh dear.
But you're
No,
right.
we haven't. No, not yet. But forewarned us. Excuse me.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think what's happening with cash is very disturbing. I do never ever want to see cash done away with.
Well, they're taking Tams, they're taking cash away, and we've just got to accept it. There's nothing you can do about it, because they literally will prevent people from using money. They will just say to retailers, it's illegal, and if you handle it, you'll be fined or whatever. And people will always bow to the system. So the only way to defeat them is to have our own system. But
Yeah.
We start.
And also, I mean, it was a show that was taken down. We did a show about 30, 40, 30. I better be careful what I say. But it was people who, well, I'll leave it at that, because it was taken down the show. But it was about our people are gullible. Let's put it that way. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Join Deb on Sunday at 8 o'clock.
Yes. on my
and
channel.
we'll be here same time, same place next week. And remember, whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh.
Yes. Good
So,
night and take care.
good night.
Good night. Thanks for all your guests.